to our allies step up, get our air bases out of Spain. They're not reliable. Move all those airplanes to a country that would let us use them when we're threatened by a regime like Iran. To our friends in Spain, man, you've lost your way. I don't want to do business with you anymore. I want our air bases out of Spain into a country that will let us use them. To our Arab friends, I've tried to help you construct a new Mideast. You need to up your game here. I can't go to South Carolina and say we're fighting and you won't publicly fight. What you're doing behind the scenes, that has to stop. The double dealing of the Arab world when it comes to this stuff needs to end. I go back to South Carolina. I'm asking them to send their sons and daughters over to the Mideast. What I want you to do in the Mideast, to our friends in Saudi Arabia and other places, step forward and say, this is my fight too. I join America. I'm publicly involved in bringing this regime down. If you don't, you're making a great mistake and you're going to cut off the ability to have a better relationship with the United States. I say this as a friend.
Tonight, late night update. Well, the art of retreat is now the focus of pulling out of the Middle East, something that should have never been pulled in. Has the Donald not learned the most recent history of the past? Or is he forever doomed repeating it, following the Israeli lead? All this and more with Jim Fetzer. Late night update. Right. Good to be here. And assuming we're here. Okay, we are. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Late Night Update. I am Dean Ryan, coming at you live from Studio B for now, as tonight's episode is The Art of the Retreat. As so many just audibles have been changed and mentioned over the past of a couple of days now since the weekend, as this war seems to be kicking off, or is it? I mean, it is so confusing that I'm as confused as Donald Rumsfeld was when we just don't know what we don't know. But one thing we do know are the facts don't lie, numbers don't lie. And the receipts are all coming in about this Iranian conflict. The damage it has done to Tel Aviv as we speak, the blockade of information that is coming from that country, that they're trying to cover up the true nature of the damage that's being waged on them by Iran. It's just incredible. We're going to be talking about that with Jim Fetzer. He'll be joining us shortly, our Real Deal Media incredibly politically gifted and analyst in this case. Also, this is something I'm really dastardly excited about, and it is just the fuel prices. I'm just so excited that we can contribute to the charitable cause of the creepy country that just doesn't go away. Anyways, across the nation, that's one of our lead stories, but you're going to feel the pinch if you haven't already. I sure have. And a lot of families have, and businesses, and this is an all-time low. It is not getting better anytime soon. That's why you're seeing the big walk back, which we're going to be showcasing here tonight, and it's a lovely thing to see. It's like the walk of shame, plus more, you know. Also, the dirty cost of war beyond the financials, as now the body count is in, the body bags have been arranged. We're going to have a grimly look at the true cost of war and why are the Americans paying for it still, I wondered. Also, I mean, just for starters here, this Haggiseth guy, I mean, you talk about roid rage. He is definitely making a spectacle of himself, and he seems to be the new scapegoat. Once again, we'll have some footage on that. Plus, the not just rising cost of oil. What are they doing in the Strait of Hormuz? Well, it's going to blow your mind. There's a new form of defense systems that Iran has now studied for quite some time, as the Strait of Hormuz It's not going to be just blockaded by naval ships of their own. No, there's something else that's going to be in the waters, and it's going to be lurking, and it's going to be deadly. Something we haven't seen in a long, long time. So there's that one. Plus, we're going to give the nightmare scenario because nothing better than a good, little scary little thought at the end of the night. But what could happen to this economy that's just teetering to the other side of just nowhere land at this point? There's a really great article that talks about a grim scenario, but usually things that have been very grim past 6 years have come true. So we're going to have a peer into that as now the Strait of Hormuz is the talk of the town. So a lot of that, a whole lot more, a lot of your comments right here on Late Night Update with our wonderful, wonderful chairman of the board coming up soon, Jim Fetzer. Okay, but here's a few things to note before we roll out the red carpet here. This is it's so exciting that I'm literally getting violent thinking about it. Let me tell you about this now as the kind of a pickup from yesterday about the imminent dangers of Iran that Iran's now posing to the Americans. We only shot their most religious clerical leader in all of the world. Why would they be mad? I can't imagine. Well, now there's new threats that are now coming from Iran, the so-called world sponsor of terror, which I thought Israel owned that title. I was wrong all these years. I mean, get it? I was just never got it. Well, in this case now, Iran's threats on U.S. soil, sleeper cells, lone wolves, cyber attacks, and eerie number codes. So it'll pick up leftover from yesterday. It seems to be continuing. Well, now with the U.S. and Israeli forces continuing their offensive strikes still, with no objective, no plan. I mean, Trump said he already wants to assassinate the son of the deceased clerical imam over there. Well, I don't know how that's going to roll, but in this case, the federal counterterrorism authorities are now warning each and every American that the desperate theocracy could launch a retaliatory strike on American soil using sleeper cells. And in affiliated Iranian terrorist groups, lone wolf sympathizers, and or targeted cyber attacks. That's true. In fact, weren't we all saying that during the big migration invasion, that the Mossad was going to bring a bunch of, their own to use for a later date? And here we are. Now, with days of killing the Iranian Supreme, Mr. Ayatollah Ali, the cryptic messages were now broadcasted globally on a new shortwave radio frequency because, Clear Channel owns everything, literally. Well, now the Sun has now begun to send all the messages as he plans for and plots for revenge for what has happened to his country and his father and his family. Yes, the message began using the Persian word for attention, they're saying. The eerie male voice read seemingly random strings of numbers. The monotone transmission we're talking about here recalled the manner in which the deep cover Cold War spies for the KGB and the CIA forces were communicating all the way back in World War II. Here we are again. And this is what they're talking about, sir. They're saying because of the creepy wind chimes that they heard over a transistor radio, that the Kash Patel and the Mike Pompeo, who just doesn't seem to go away, they're saying those are telltale signs too, that the imminent attack by Iran and their so-called lone wolves and crew, for that fact, are going to happen anytime soon. They're saying it's not even possibly could happen. They're saying it will, which I find that very suspect. So we'll circle around with that one and see what Jim's take is on that. One last real deal headline here for the late night before we get everything Jim's take on this. Well, I said it in the mention during the cold opening there. You might have heard right after that, is the soaring prices now of gasoline. Oh, yeah, it's so bad. In fact, here's a picture of just where I seem to noticing things here in California. Look at this one right here at Chevron. what is that? About close to $6. As I predicted, things would go up by Monday, just a day ago or so. And here we are. And I don't know who can afford that. I remember when that was the price per liters or gallons over there in the UK. Nobody was driving. Nobody drove in London, but Americans drive. What are we going to do? So we're feeling the pinch. Well, let me tell you just a bit more about it before we get to war talk here. Well, yeah, that's true. The soaring fuel prices now are expected to cast a long shadow across the United States economy, a long shadow, a very big shadow of like Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it's going to be casting. Now, the U.S. Energy Department over there has now warned the petrol and diesel prices are unlikely to recede to pre-war levels until about mid-2027. So we're going to be in this bullshit fiasco of soaring prices on gas and food and everything until a year from now, or a year and a half. Wow. It's just amazing. Continuing. Well, yes, the official figures have now been released, as I'm now stating to you, that show the petrol and the cost for it has now risen and rose 19 cents over the past 2 weeks to $3.50 gallon an average, as we said yesterday. Now there's talks of a barrel of gas now, which traditionally has been anywhere from like $25 to $50, $50, $70 at most for a gallon for the drums of oil they're bringing. They're now saying because of the Strait of Hormuz that a drum of oil, cost per oil, is going to go upwards to at least $200 per barrel. Can you imagine what that's going to do to the economy? We have nothing ready or prepared for this. All the oil from Venezuela, illegally taken, mind you, no, it's gone to Israel. And production to fuel this country, the United States, it would take at least 6 months to start rendering such an operation. It's just amazing. So the petrol forecast to drop back below $2.94 as an average nationwide. We're not going to see prices like that till they're now saying the end of 2027. There you have it. Yeah, that's coming from the Energy Information Administration. And so we're all feeling the pinch. I'm going to bring in Jim Fetzer here in a second, but I want to show you the montage now of the art of the retreat, because the art of the retreat also includes the art of the blame. Another game we love, another just artistic way of expression of blaming your counterpart, your colleague, and others. Certainly done it. The first one we're going to see here, I just love. You saw the Lindsey Graham. We might watch that again, but here is Ted Cruz now doubling down. And even Lindsey Graham saying you have to donate your children and sacrifice them for this war because it is just.
Are you concerned about sleeper cells? There's been discussion of that.
Look, the risk of terrorism right now is quite high. We tragically saw in Austin, Texas, just last weekend, we saw a terrorist attack. We also saw another terrorist attack in New York City. There is a heightened danger of terrorism right now, and I will say it is particularly indefensible that Democrats have shut down the Department of Homeland Security while we are facing an enhanced terrorist risk. The Department of Homeland Security exists to guard against terrorist attacks. The danger has never been higher than right now, particularly after 4 years of open borders under Joe Biden. We know that radical Islamic terrorists entered this country, and there's a vulnerability all across this country. It is disgraceful and indefensible for the Democrats to vote party line not to fund the Department of Homeland Security right now. We need to open it up and fully fund it.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. I totally agree to that. It is disgraceful. It is disgraceful, Ted Cruz. We do have terrorists in this country. Guess what? They don't come from Iran. They come from the city where your penthouse is. You get it? That guy's he's just a terrible human being. Anyways, so there's Ted Cruz now. Catch up and pick up on the theme now. Nobody knows what the hell's going on. So here's another one, just to reiterate it. Now here's Steve Witkoff.
So just, finally on Iran, what do you say, people, to Steve, Americans who, are struggling, they're worried about higher gas prices, higher grocery prices, health insurance, making ends meet, don't want foreign wars, certainly ones that don't have end dates and that risk American lives. What do you say to them about why this is so critical for the U.S. to be doing what it is doing in Iran right now? How do you persuade them?
I say to them, Sarah, that if they have children, think about what this world would look like if you didn't have Donald Trump as the president. Because in a year, if you had someone who didn't have the courage to do this action, you'd have 30 or 40 nuclear bombs. And what would the world look like there? So thank God we have a president and leadership at the helm that makes these courageous decisions.
What the world needs now is more Donald Trump. That's the answer from Steve Witkoff, our special envoy to the Middle East, our special little Zionist light, when the cameras are looking. Okay, here's another one, because we still haven't figured out what the goal, the end date is. Here's actually one of the congressional members who is just as perplexed and pummeled as all of us are. And he accidentally said the truth and let it slip live on television with Nicole Wallace. Now check this out.
What is the reason, if the nuclear program isn't the reason, as poor Ted Cruz, I never thought I'd put those three words together, is over there talking about nukes? And we know that the intelligence did not suggest that an attack was imminent from Iran. What is left? Why are we at war with Iran?
Great question. Yeah, great question. I mean, the simplest explanation, might be the one that they gave 24 hours in, that they've kind of tried to backtrack since then, which is that Israel made us do it. That Bibi decided on this timeline, Netanyahu decided he wanted to attack, and he convinced Trump to join him by scaring Trump into believing that U.S. assets in the region would be at risk, and so Trump was.
Yeah, Bibi made him do it. And finally, what does Trump have to say, from the horse's mouth himself, a man who has given faulty poll numbers of 90% of Americans are behind you in this war? Give me a break and then stop wagging the dog while you're at it. Here's Donald Trump, and we'll get Jim's take right after.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
well, how do you like them apples? Very interesting. To discuss this in a disgusting manner that we view it is our very own Real Deal Media political analyst himself, the one, the only, Jim Fetzer. Jim, you saw everything that I saw and we all saw right there. This also comes on the heels of now we can report about 150 U.S. service members have been pretty injured badly. They're not telling us the true death count yet. We only know about 6 or 7 at this point, but it seems to be climbing, and a lot more as they're now floating the idea of boots on the ground. Jim, what say you in this monstrosity?
Well, the death count is probably 500 by now, Dean, probably even higher. Now, what's the only true part about what Trump said is that once Israel began the attack, Iran had said if Iran were attacked, they'd attack both the U.S. bases and Israel. So Trump was right. Once Bibi attacked, we were in it. Now he dragged us in, and the timing was exquisite. It was because Oman, which had been negotiating a deal, a new renewal of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which Trump should never have taken us out. He only withdrew us because Bibi wanted to have the issue of claiming Iran was developing a nuke. a breakthrough had happened. He saw the opportunity slipping through his fingers, so he had to act then. Trump didn't even know it was taking place when the hit was made on the Ayatollah. And what you got to understand is these are Shia Muslims. They believe in martyrdom. They are absolutely courageous, and they believe if once their leader, their spiritual leader, was taken out, and this guy was the second holiest figure in all of Islam. This was equivalent to taking out the Pope for the Catholic Church or the Archbishop of Canterbury for the Anglican Communion. This is a holy war for them. And if they die, they go to heaven and they're rewarded. I mean, this is, you've heard the story of the 72 virgins. The Shia are a minority within Islam. They're only about 15%. They're very much prosecuted, but they have a history of great courage. Their civilization goes back more than 2,500 years. The glorious stories in the history of Persia when a tiny band of Persians fought off thousands of enemies and died a heroic death. Those are the most important legends of Iranian history, giving their lives in death. They're not going to allow any ships to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. You implied they got a sub out there. Well, it may or may not be sunk, but there's no way in which there's going to be a negotiation through the Strait of Hormuz. I guarantee you 100%. And you saw Witkoff. Trump has already tried twice to have Witkoff broach the idea of a ceasefire, and the Iranians have told him, no, we're not going to end this until you withdraw all U.S. forces from the Middle East. And Dean, they mean it, and they can enforce it.
To pick up on what I was speaking about in the Lake of Hormuz is it's now being reported that the Iranians are leaving I want to say mine bombs just floating and underneath the water everywhere. They're booby trapping the entire Strait of Hormuz right now.
Yeah, that's standard. That's
and this also too. I want to get your take on this. I didn't get a chance to ask you before the show, but before we come back to domestics, we have a lot of the Gulf states now under fire from Iran. Are we certain that Iran fired rockets at Dubai's hotels and Qatar? Are we certain that was them and not Mossad itself? Because Israel has a classical history of doing such kind of nefarious things.
Oh, Dean, you're so right to raise that question. It appears that the school, the girls' school where they killed 165 was indeed a U.S. missile. They have parts of it made in the USA. They can try to stretch it and claim someone else bought a Tomahawk. That's ridiculous. It was the same time an attack was being made on a nearby facility, Republican Guard. No doubt this was the targeting guy. He just mistook it. He thought those were little Republican guards at training school. But we don't admit it. That makes us look worse. I mean, the PR disaster here. Now, let me add a few more elements. They succeeded in killing the Ayatollah. There's going to be revenge. Donald Trump and Bibi Netanyahu have made themselves big targets. There was a hit on Bibi's home. It killed his brother. His brother has died. And now the Iranians have taken out a major underground bunker in Tel Aviv. It was very deep. It had to be a 3-stage. Meaning you got one explosion, then another to go deeper and deeper. And it took out Ben Gurv, who's one of the nastiest of the nastiest, who's all been for executing and slaughtering the Palestinians. He appears to be dead.
Actually, Jim, about that is BBC's reporting that Ben Gvir, no, he wasn't hit by a missile. He just got in a little car accident. That's all. So that's what we're to take from that. But I want to go back to the Gulf states because places like Qatar, places like Saudi Arabia, and some other Gulf states, Kuwait, we've had long relationships with, we've had bases there for decades now. They're now having buyer's remorse because they were promised security guarantees. And look at, Dubai got hit by rockets. Not even Israel that has a stronghold in some of these Gulf regions. could really defend them. Jim, I think we're seeing not only a shift in finances in the region, but a shift in allegiances as well, because that says a lot that we are a paper tiger. This is so embarrassing too, Jim.
Dean, you're 100% correct. The Gulf Coast countries are going to forget the U.S. They're going to tell them to take out all their bases, which is exactly what Iran is demanding in essence. They're not going to believe in the U.S. anymore. In fact, they've said we were betrayed. Even Saudi Arabia said we were betrayed by the U.S. They were only there to defend Israel, not us, after making these solemn agreements. And they've been just massively obliterating Israel and the U.S. bases all 2017. This has been very lopsided. The Iranians have known what they were doing. Last count, I'd say it was the 30th wave of the rockets, probably now 36, and they're turning to their bigger and more recently developed weapons. One of the Iranian Republican Guard declared we're no longer using any payloads less than a ton. So they're going up to their big stuff, and it's going to be bad. Israel is going to be obliterated.
I agree to that, Jim. I mean, in fact, if you take one of our World at War shows about maybe 6 months ago, if that, it was titled The Last Days of Israel. I mean, the writing's been on the wall. I want to show you this in regards to the damage being had over there in Tel Aviv. There's so many conflicting reports, but here's some ones that we can plainly see here. Well, it's this is coming out of a local news station here in Tel Aviv. It's now saying Israel is in a partial lockdown. The streets are empty due to fear of Iranian attacks. Shops are closed, and the situation is becoming unbearable for the population. Even large Hezbollah missiles are hitting Tel Aviv without the sirens going off. And this is unprecedented in an apocalypse now kind of situation. This just, again, on the heels of American troops practicing the art of retreat and not surrender. But in some way, Jim, I got to say, as unpopular as it might be to say it, my thesis that I floated out there before this whole thing started, hey, maybe it fell upon some ears that were not deaf with Donald Trump by bringing us to the brink of war and then leaving Israel to hang, because that's kind of what it seems like to me. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that's right. And this war was colossally stupid from the beginning. Bibi spent, 30 years worrying about the Iranian nuclear attack. Well, the greatest security for there not being an Iranian nuclear attack is that the Ayatollah Khomeini had issued a fatwa, religious declaration that forbade the development or use of nuclear weapons. And what was the first thing they did? They killed the guy who was their greatest guarantee they wouldn't be nuked. I'll tell you right now, there were many in Iran who wanted Iran to develop nuclear weapons. They got enough material to develop maybe 8 or 10 bombs. They're going to proceed to do it, Dean, mark my words.
Jim, I can report a preliminary report coming out just now from overseas. In the fog of war, there's a lot of shrapnel, a lot of unforeseen consequences. Well, this one might be huge. It now is being reported that Israel just fired a rocket into Tehran over there in Iran, the capital city, accidentally hitting the North Korean embassy. Jim, I mean, talking about hitting a hornet's nest like 20 times in a row here. That's a big hornet's nest, because Kim Jong-un, I mean, he's a real son of a gun, don't you think?
I like the guy tremendously, and he's going to be motivated to come to the aid of Iran now that North Korea has an entry point. And of course, they have plenty of nukes. I mean, I'm telling you, this is another way in which the whole equation is being tilted so massively in favor of Iran. But it was obvious from the beginning, anyone who knew anything about the history of Iran. The Gulf country states were down in this low plateau. Iran was surrounding them with mountains. They had everywhere to put their missiles. The whole of all those bases were incapable of being defended. all of the bases, all of the cities, everything about the Gulf Coast, it was indefensible, and it was known from the beginning.
What are we to make of what are we to make of now Pete Hegseth saying, you know, we're killing all these people from the skies? I mean, there's absolutely no humility. There's no empathy. You even have Trump saying that he wants to now assassinate the sun. I mean, Jim, as far as I'm concerned, the mask has been pulled off, 10 times in a row here. That I think the American people and in the world, for that fact, are now finally seeing that the United States of America is not ran by people who are from or have the best interests of the United States of America, but a foreign country. I mean, this is disgusting, Jim. I mean, as a Marine, you saw the guy's arm broken the other day, your fellow Marine. How do you feel knowing that we're being led by complete saboteurs from a foreign nation? Go ahead, Jim.
Oh, yeah, Dean. Oh, yeah. I mean, we're paying a price for appointing political loyalists, people who are loyal to Trump, but who weren't qualified for their position. Secretary of Defense, I even say Secretary of State, though Marco Rubio is better than the others. Kash Patel, this, Bondi, Pam Bondi, none of them is qualified for their position, and we're paying a monster price for it. Dean, it's coming home to roost. Jared Kushner and Witkoff, they really are amateurs. They're just buddies of Trump. The price of gas is going to continue to skyrocket, maybe $10 a gallon by the end of the week.
I mean, listen to this. I mean, you want to talk about incompetence? This is now coming out too. Pete Hegseth, or the Defense Department, or the Department of War, okay? Department of War blew through $22 million on steak and lobster in one single month, Watchdogs claims. Can you believe that? Now, granted, it's a step up from blowing $22 million on hot dogs. We'll give them that, but I mean, that's a lot. I mean, what kind of... That's more than Red Lobster, you'd have to pay this. So yeah, Hegseth Defense Department, they blew the $22 million on lobsters and ribeye steaks as part of a wild September 2025 end-of-year spree, according to the analysis by the nonprofit watchdog group Open Books. Now, Hegseth says DOD, now here's another one. They spent $93.4 billion on grants in contracts in the month of September alone of last year. Nearly 50% of which was expended in the last 5 business days of the month. So the last 5 days of September, they managed to spend just millions and billions of dollars here. And finally, Jim, listen to the menu here. Listen to the menu. Okay, here it is. $2 million on Alaskan king crab. Okay, $2 million on Alaskan king crab. $6.9 million on lobster tail, $15.1 million on ribeye steak, and $1 million on salmon. Those are the help, the cheaps. And now the dessert included 272 orders of donuts. So I guess there was a lot of cops there when they did this. And then $139,000 worth of donuts and ice cream together, which make a total of nearly $500,000 for dessert. Jim, that better be like the best primo cut Alaskan king crab you've ever had in your life for that amount of money. I mean, what are we to make of that? That's unheard of.
Well, it is the case that the last meal our troops get before going into combat is steak and lobster. So the steak and lobster, when you get that meal, it's for real, because the next day you're going to be deployed. So some of that, but only in part, would be a justifiable budget expenditure. But what you're saying is they got carried away. They were feting themselves. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful. Pete Hegseth is probably the single most unqualified Secretary of Defense we have ever had in the history of the United States, and we're paying a big price for that.
Oh yeah, Jim. I'd even get into the amounts of lobster rolls these people were eating. I mean, I don't know if I'm really disgusted by it or extremely hungry. I mean, after hearing all this, it's quite the something. Okay, Jim, I know you have to go. We're going to head to break too, but do you want to maybe give people a heads up of we have our 6-year anniversary coming up, March 19th. We're keeping it light this year, but we're going to have a musical explosion, and a lot of people are now seeing hearing about rather our rehearsal over the weekend. In fact, here's one of the Polaroids that we took from it. There's Jim getting busy, getting down with it. Yeah, and he's incredible. He plays just like Buddy Rich, if not better. But Jim, you want to maybe just tell people that without telling them what to expect for our big 6-year
It's going to be a
anniversary.
lot of fun. We've had a long run, and we have a great time doing it. And I'm just so joyful about participating with you in all these shows, Dean. You're really doing something with Real Deal Media, and I love it.
Thank you, Jim, and so are you. And we might even be playing the USO this year for the troops. We'll see how Jim's tendonitis is going up. Okay, anyways, we're going to get going there. Go to head to break. You can catch Jim 8 days a week over there on Revolution Radio, and always here with me and all of our little just excursions. Jim Fetzer, everybody. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you, Dean.
Okay, there you have it. There you have it. All right. We're going to take this little quick break here at Late Night Update and re-gear and re-gauge. When we get back, got some really testosterone-fueled stories about people's speculations of the dangers ahead. We'll see if that matches our dangers and our bingo cards. I'm going to peer through the live chats because I'm getting better at that. I never used to be very efficient at that, but I'm learning how to proceed with that. Also, I'm going to give you the nightmare scenario, economic scenario of what to expect in the coming months. We're going to be in this for sure, for certain. We're going to be in this mess and pinches to the pennies now for at least a year and a half, and we have these. We have these people to thank for it. Isn't that great? Anyways, yeah. Stand by. This Late Night Update will be back after this quick message. Don't go anywhere.
Feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like a rock war number 2. A rock war number 2. I like the look of those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you. If someone invaded you. And I ran so far away. I bombed them night and day. But destroy USA. A drone appears above your head. A Moab bomb comes falling down on you. Falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still. The Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view. The oil must flow through. And I ran so far away. The bomb I bombed them night and day. But destroy USA.
You like me, you want to get to heaven, but you simply don't want to take your time, let alone wait in line? That's why I here at Tunnels to Heaven, we're going to get you to your final destination before the revelation, tribulation, and the strangulation. All you got to do is start giving, because forgiveness ain't cheap, it ain't free, and you got to give to forgive. So that's why sign up today. You can find it at a variety of locations, and underneath the synagogues, we got one in Brooklyn, we got one in Alabama, and we got one over there in Seattle, Washington. Get your fix before you get your kicks, and don't fall for any of these tricks. Get your Tunnels to Heaven membership today, because God's waiting, but he ain't gonna pick you up. Hold on, what's that?
That's your version. I showed it to you. What are you saying?
Oh, it's my turn to go in that tunnel. I'll see you guys later, and I'll see you in heaven.
Order your Tunnels to Heaven today. 1-800-TUNNELS. 1-800-TUNNELS.
All right. Little snafu there. China is brought to you by 1-800-TUNNELS. That's right, 1-800-TUNNELS. Want to get to heaven, but don't necessarily want to wait with all the riffraff trying to get in the same place as you. Well, call 1-800-TUNNELS. Make sure you expedite your journey to the promised land with a little help from some rabbis. That's right. Also, you want to help bring back the #1 late night show, the most shadow banned show in the world. Well, then you're going to want to help to bring back World at War. The show that started it all in a time of even greater confusion with a lot of masks around me. Going in 6 years now. Can you believe it? Anyways, help bring back World at War. We're very close to reaching our goal. All you got to do is go to givesendgo.com/World at War. That's givesendgo.com/World at War. We are a people-driven type of an economy here, because that's what it's about, people power. Currencies come and go, but memories last a lifetime. Yes, they do. And you can make that into a Hallmark card, I guarantee you. All right, let's get back to everything late night update, as the art of the retreat. The art of retreat is now upon us. I put a link in the live chat too, by the way. You should see it there. If you want to call in, and feel free to do so. Or my manners. Anyways, welcome back to Late Night Update. I'm still Dean Ryan, who is really just, some days I'm going with the motions, and other days I feel like the John Connor from the future. I need to take down the Death Star. I have those moments as well. Anyways, we have a few stories to get to, and people's comments and questions as well. In fact, why don't we just get to that right now, as people are, wow, we have a record amount of people watching here we are on, where are we on actually? Okay, we're on YouTube. We're on X, as well as Brighteon. God, I hope so. And Rumble. That's where we are right now, live. We're on 5 stations, I believe. Anyways, that's pretty cool. All right, so anyways, here's some what people are saying in the ethers on all the live chats out there. Let's see if we can manage to get one. Here it is. Okay. Oh, someone said, Seth said, do the link again. Okay, I will send another link if you'd like to call in. We might have Buck call in, whose email address I foolishly lost and was unable to contact him, because he's a man of mystery. And he's a man that still uses the payphone. That's how old school he is. All right, so here it is. I'll put it in the in the live chats. Hopefully that works for you. And if people don't have that on Rumble, I don't know what to do. All right, so there you have that one. Feel free to If you'd like to join the convo, you can do so at this time. All right, so there's that. Here are what some people are saying. Let's go around and, one of these days I'll smash this thing too. Okay, here we have. We have Hammer Time saying the following: I'll eat kangaroos and rabbits better than Z-Bugs. Okay, Hammer Time, good. My vision is so blurry. I almost read that you'll eat kangaroos and rabbis better than Z-Bugs. Everything's so blurry for me lately. Anyways, that's good. Yeah, whatever happened to that? In Australia, you had the WHO who was going to sign the treaty with the Australian government. They gave them the mandate and the right-of-way, I guess you could say, to pretty much arrest any Australian that they feel is not compliant to the new scheduling of the miracle jabs. Remember that? And they could drag you out of your house. Whatever came about from that. Does anyone know out there? We have a lot of Australian viewers. I've always kind of wondered. Okay, there's that one. Thank you very much. Let me go all the way back here. This is interesting. It only allows me to block Dean when I click no thank you. What is that? I'm fascinated. Okay, we do have one caller. Call in. Hold on there. Dame Pam says I'm muted. Yes. Yeah, yes. And it's probably because I can't see anything. But thank you anyways for letting me know. Here's something, and then we're going to get to our caller here. Hammer Time points this out. Hammer Time, I call on. Okay, it says, this stupid, says we only got 30 days of fuel, then Mad Max time. Yeah, I'd say so. Especially when the food stamps. Hello, Marnie. Hello, how are you? Scared me there. Yeah, when you use your mobile and it just throws you on there. I tried to tell you, but welcome. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, it's because I came in through the other thing. I couldn't see the link in the Rumble.
I can't hear you. Hold on 1 second, please. In fact, go ahead. Say again. Go ahead.
I was saying I didn't see the link in the Rumble chat, so I came in through the back door.
I did?
I did. Can you hear me?
Marnie, while you're here, before I go to another caller, let me ask you this.
Well, throw me back
when you hear Lindsey Graham and even Steve Witkoff pretty much say that we should have our daughters and sons all in some concerto moment join the military to fight this very just war. Could you see yourself telling your daughter, who's eligible for the draft now, everybody's eligible to the draft up to about 42. Is this a just war that you would suggest your daughter get involved in? I mean, after all, that's what they're suggesting, are they not?
Absolutely not. It's ridiculous. No. They're backdooring conscription the same way they've backdoored you can't buy insurance, you can't get a mortgage. Oops, it's no longer available. Same thing. They use exactly the same pattern for everything. And these two are just the salesmen to try and convince you to be patriotic. It's another 9/11 sales pitch. With the same benefactor.
Well, that's just it, Marnie, is there's a lot of this presentation of a 9/11 moment that's going to be coming. We've been hearing about it for years. We saw the complete failure of Disease X that really didn't even get lifted off the ground. How do these guys, whether it's Ted Cruz or the Lady Graham, Lindsey Graham, how do they know something that we don't, or our intelligence apparatus doesn't know, or are they part of something that's going to be blamed on Iran? Because I'm willing to bet it's the second.
I'm with you on that one. It's really hard to read the room right now. They've got so many spins going at once that I think everybody's dizzy. I really, really do. But while I'm here and before you throw me in the back room, uh, major news out of Mexico. Did you get it yet? Scheinbaum went on TV just before you went to air and said, "No, President Trump, we cannot beat up on the cartel. That would be very mean." So I have a feeling Mexico is next.
Wow. Well, she did say that when the whole conflict went down in Puerto Vallarta, she did mention the civil rights violations of the cartel. And, just, from a naked bird's eye view, if you don't know any better, what a humanitarian. Oh, wow. That's so nice. No, I think she's trying to cover it up because the further and deeper you go into the cartels overall throughout Mexico, the more ties and collaborations, collusion to some, that you'll find with Scheinbaum and Mexico, and dare I say the IDF too, because the cartel members did get Project Pegasus from the IDF, and nobody's happy about that. But Marty, thank you for calling in, and I'll catch you after the show here tonight, and we'll further expand.
One more thing.
Okay.
Sam Cooper has
There
uncovered
you
the
have it.
link.
All right. We have another caller. And yeah, it's so interesting. Scheinbaum. Never let your shine bomb go. Okay, we have another caller now. Here is another one. We have, we have a plethora of people. Buck's not there. We'll get Buck shortly. He went out. Or is he there? Okay, that's his head moving. I thought it was a chair. Buck, hold on, because we're going to do a longer segment with you. Let me get Skip Tamalu, because I'm going to do a long segment with Buck. He's one of those guys that if you had to do prison with and you had to do 30 years, it would go by fast. If if Buck was your cellmate, not that I want to be cellmates with him. Oh, man. Anyways, these thoughts. Okay, Skip, welcome to the stage. Thank you for calling in. How are you doing? And Marty, good to see you too. Okay.
Hey, Dean.
How are you doing? How are you?
Not so good right now, but I'm hanging in there, you know that. One day at a time. We have election time here in Denmark right now, and it's not looking good, guys. It's just every day is like watching a circus. It's just a circus show. Yesterday we had a nasty case. So I was up live today, awaiting for the hearing at the court. You know that Denmark is known throughout the entire world for we can let our baby strollers standing outside of the grocery store, or that they don't get stolen. And when Americans or people from around the world come visiting Denmark, they say, "Whoa, that's weird. How can you do that?" But we had a very nasty case the day before yesterday, where a man stole a 7-month-old little girl from her stroller, drove her away, and he broke into the hotel, stole the key to a room, and he had one sock on him, and gloves and some other stuff.
Let me if I could just weigh in for a moment here. So when we look at Scandinavia, when we look at Denmark and all these places, it's been kind of overran by the communist, corporate communist manifestos of sorts. All of Europe that way.
Yeah.
However, it's also become very anti-Russia and very pro-Israel too. I mean, there's a lot of weapons transports from Germany and elsewhere.
It's so
but
sad.
that's changing. The whole landscape is changing. Are the people of Denmark, are the good Danish people of Denmark finally waking up to the ethnic cleansing that's happening in their country by the proxy of migration? Are they waking up to the fact that the values, the customs, the culture is changing, because there's something that's been planned long ago in the 20s called it's called the Kalergi Plan, created by the Zionists, that moves the third world into the first world to just displace everybody and make it a buyer's market. Are people of Denmark finally waking up to this, Skip?
Yeah, I think that's why they chose to not have the this court case behind closed doors, because they are using this case in the election. Even our Prime Minister Medemik, as I call her, the woman, she's also for immigration, but now she said she's telling the entire country of Denmark that she has had the toughest law against immigration. In the meantime, if you look at what has happened for the last 10 years, it's just poof, poof, poof. Come, take our money, take our money. So they're using this case in the election. That's not good. Every time I talk to a person about the war, they just tell me, I'm tired, Skip. I'm tired. And this dude, he was apparently not Danish.
Well,
So,
let me just say this. I want to bring you back for because I really want to understand what's happening in Denmark. I really want to understand it too. I mean, and too, with a lot of bad comes good. There's also some very far out ideas. Places like Denmark and Holland in general are kind of trying that we would not even dare of, that work for their society. But anyways, let's have you back, and I want to understand what's the local politics that's happening over there, because a lot of those things really do influence a lot of the radical legislation that comes down to California and then spreads elsewhere. So let's have you back for a longer segment on that.
Just
What
like
do you think?
our former Prime Minister.
Okay.
Last week.
All right. Thank you for calling in. All right, there we have it. That's wonderful, wonderful. Okay. All the way from Denmark. See, we were an international show around here. What can I tell you? All right, we're going to have Mr. Ranger Buck is going to join us. This is a gentleman who knows a lot of things and has a perspective on what's happening in Iran that's a little different than maybe mine or Jim's or maybe yours out there, and that's totally fine. We welcome all that. That's true diversity. And there's also things I may not know. And it's part of the evolution of that we all kind of go through in these big realization moments, because it is life-changing. But anyways, Ranger Bach is calling all the way from an undisclosed location in his own bunker, where he has really been targeted. It seems to be every time he comes on the show, or at least does a project with me. Last time we saw him was the 6 Underground series we did, which was phenomenal. We did with him regarding the LA tunnels, and then shortly thereafter, Gaza. Well, he seems to know a bit more about that and expanded his thinking and his findings of just kind of exactly what is underneath and what's underground in Iran. And it's quite fascinating. So let's welcome back to the stage here, or I should say the first time at Late Night Update, the really knowledgeable Ranger Buck. Buck, are you there? Okay.
I'm here, Dean.
I think he is there. Oh, there he is. Okay. Anyways, Buck, thank you for being here.
Hey, Dean.
I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. They're really sucking lately. But anyways, Buck, I'm going to give you the floor, and I'm just going to hear you out. And thank you for finding me. I literally lost your email, and anyways, I'll tell you later. But I'm going to give you the floor on what tell this audience your view of what What is happening? Why are we in Iran? Because I showed you a bunch of clips. Nobody knows why we're in Iran. Not even Benjamin Netanyahu can do a good showcasing and explanation of it. In fact, here he was earlier trying to explain to his own people how they need a war budget. Can you believe that? I certainly can't.
עם אויב אכזר שרוצה להשמיד אותנו. אנחנו קטשנו את היכולות הגרעיניות והבליסטיות שלו במבצע עם כלבי. לאחר מכן, במקום ללמוד את הלקח, הוא ניסה לפתח אותם מחדש ולהטמין אותם מתחת לקרקע, עמוק עמוק בקרקע.
Anyways, I'm not too good with French, but he's basically saying to the Israelis, we need money. We need money to fight this. Buck, I'm going to give you the floor. Tell this global audience what in the world is happening in Iran. Go ahead, Buck.
Dean, it's really hard to explain it in a short amount of time, but to sum it up, really, we can look at Iran as a puppet regime of the deep state. It has been a deep state puppet regime for a long period of time. And it's connected to Saudi Arabia, Qatar. I don't know if you remember, but when Gaza was going on, we kept having to deal with Hamas. We had to deal with Qatar. Why were we dealing with Qatar? A group of Muslims in Qatar to try to negotiate about Hamas. That's because there was a cell of intelligence that's coordinated and supported by the Saudi Arabia and several other Muslim countries in the Gulf. And these cells are rampant throughout the Middle East. And there's Israeli cells, the Mossad cells, there's MI6 cells, there's Chinese cells, there's double agents, triple agents, quadruple agents throughout the Middle East. And Iran was a hotbed for this because Iran was a 100% totally controlled regime from basically, it's hard to say exactly who controlled them, but Saudi Arabia had a lot of influence. China had a lot of influence. A lot of the reasons we never attacked them under the Bush administration was because of those connections. Then Obama, of course, made the nuclear treaty, which was really a method of funding these black sites within Iran. And the puppet regime was going to be funded by the money from the nuclear deal. And not only that, but they had agreed to sell all these jumbo jet. And then you go to uranium one. Uranium one was going to be the uranium that they were going to enrich to nuclearize these jumbo jets and create a regime there in Iran that would be untouchable. And of course, Obama was involved in all that. And of course, he was extorted. And we know about Extortion 17, where he gave up the SEAL team, a lot of that. And then, of course, we know about Pakistan, where that wasn't Osama bin Laden that was killed. So that was another part of it. They were going to, Iran was going to control that. Now you're looking at Pakistan that's raising their head, threatening to get into this war. But the big picture is that all these intelligence assets throughout the Middle East that have controlled Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, all these groups that we have used to muster up war, or not us, but let's say, well, we don't really know who we are and us is throughout the course of history. But let's say Mossad has all these black sites throughout the Middle East. That's why you're seeing these Mossad agents dying. You're seeing these radar systems that are obsolete in all these countries. They're being hit by Iranian missiles. You know, we're turning off these systems, we're jamming these systems, and then we're allowing these missiles to come through and hit these black sites. And the way they're targeting these black sites is through signal propagation, through whenever they know where the IP addresses are from any internet chatter. They know where any signals are coming from. We have the high ground, so to speak, through Space Force. we're monitoring the whole Middle East, and we can see every signal that is coming from every area of the Middle East, and that's where we're targeting. And that's there's two theories on the school right now in the circles that I know about, where the girls were killed. One, there was a bunker underneath that a lot of signal transmissions were coming from. So we knew there was a cell underneath that school. And of course, when we penetrate these schools with LiDAR from space, we can see the people, and you can actually map out the bunkers, and you can see the people moving around, and you can see exactly what they're doing. So, we have, you have to start with the assumption that we have the greatest intelligence infrastructure in the world at this point in time, because we have AI connected to satellites, connected to LiDAR systems. We can GPS jam. The other theory that involves those children, the school being hit, was that school is part of a network of School of the Martyrs that is connected to an Iranian Revolutionary Guard complex that sits right beside it. And of course, there's bunkers underneath it. That's where they build their bunkers. That's where they put their bunkers, is under children schools, so that they won't get hit. And if they do get hit, then this is the narrative that they spread around the world, that all the evil Americans or the Israelis killed all these children. It goes back to all that. But now, at the same time, there were Mossad cells throughout Iran that have been built there for over 20, 30 years that were prepared to take over the regime when the regime collapsed. And remember when Trump saved those 800 people from being hung? That's what they were. We already gave up those Mossad agents to the Iranians and allowed them to get captured because what happened was we jammed all their internet traffic, and we did a blackout, and then they were still using signals to Starlink, and that's how we found all the Mossad agents.
Buck, let me just break in here. I want to get your take on this, because we're now entering grounds that they're playing into, wayside, from the wayside advice that I was shooting out into the ether before the invasion, if you will, happened. So we now find ourselves with a unclear message. We have 150, if not dead, maimed U.S. military personnel that whose lives will forever be changed and altered, as well as their families. I'm not sure I'm not sure what this administration or whoever has the duty of putting the folded flag and sending it to the families. I don't even know where to begin. What would you tell these people? So we have that, but I want to replay this, because I think this really is very telling. It's like the 12-second clip of Donald Trump literally throwing everybody into the right under the bus. And unless this is a concerted plan to take down and take out Israel, which you can make the case, it appears that way, because it's so damaged over there, they won't even let it out. But watch this real quick, Buck, and then I'll get your take on this. This is just earlier today. I have it somewhere. Here it is.
The situation was very quickly approaching the point of no return, and the United States found it intolerable, in my opinion, based on what Steve and Jared and Pete and others were telling me, Marco, so involved, that I thought that they were going to attack us. I thought they would, if we didn't do this at the time we did it, I think they had in mind to attack us. And
so there you go. He did it because all those advisors, except for the ones he should have listened to, the chief of staff, top general Mike McCain, told him, do not do this. Other colonels and other high ends in the military that said don't do it, he fired. If people had any ounce of bias towards Israel in the administration or the chain, they all got relieved and fired. Buck, my question is, at what point in time do people say, you know what, I can't be on the cryptic roller coaster anymore, because maybe what's really happening is actually what's actually really happening in front of us on a big scale, that this is a wag the dog kind of moment for an American president that is eyeballs deep in blackmail, for most of which we're not even privy of knowing yet, because they won't release it. They're scrubbing it. So what are we to make of what you just saw there, Buck, if you would?
First of all, Bibi, when he was arrested and captured, there were not the President Trump and the White Hats are in control of our Israeli military now. So there is no Israel, so to speak. Although we keep in Israel because we can blame them, of course, but this operation is needed to create peace in the Middle East. That's what's going to be the end goal. That's what the mission is peace in the Middle East. And it's going to create it unless China has been, from the day this war started, technically back in 2018, when President Trump ordered the start of through a PED, he ordered both he ordered both that we were under civil war. He declared civil war and a world war back in 2018 through a presidential emergency action document. And at that point, when that occurred, that's when we went to war. However, we couldn't go to war straight up with China at that point in time, because, like I said earlier, all of our AI that they use to stimulate the war, no matter what we did, we lost the war because of our chips being compromised, primarily because China could basically shut down our F-35s, and they knew all of our military chatter. We're still fighting that battle. That's a lot what a COVID was to fight that battle and pull out all these cells. Now, Israel Mossad coordinated with China to bring about COVID. And so, Bibi's hands are dirty from, way back to 9/11 that he was involved with, all the way to the present day through COVID. That was a Israeli Chinese coordinated operation. And of course, there was a lot of people within our own government, like Bill Gates, for example, Fauci, some of the the others that helped coordinate COVID. But we were attacked, and we couldn't go kinetic, and that's why we went biological.
Okay, sorry about that, Buck.
Anyway,
due to time constraints, I want to say this. I want to give what I think the final take is going to be here.
I do have one real quick point, if you don't mind.
We're going to be in this now. There's people who are on their last end financially. They're on their last leg, that are now fully to the brim. We have grandparents who now have their kids and their kids living with them. Families are having to bunker down together. People throughout California can't even afford apartments. So I don't know how the messaging, which never is said by Trump or anyone close to him, it's always us conduits or, people like yourself and others that have to really say these very, very stringent, complicated ordeals here. But where I see this going is that Israel's back is against the wall. Netanyahu seems to be on the run. There's an assassinations attempts for him, as you can imagine, and Trump as well. Although I think he's already captured. I think Netanyahu's more of the bullseye they want. But I see that Netanyahu forcing the hand of Trump to do the nuke on Iran. And then I also see the same being applied and will be done to Israel. And then what we get in the end is the ultimate prediction by Albert Pike, because I'll tell you what, it's playing up to the Albert Pike chorus to a T, as from our standpoint. So that's how I see it. I see the hand of Trump being forced to initiate another nuke on Iran. That's something we haven't seen since 1945. And he called the Iranian people nasty people. So there you have it. So, there's no qualms. There's no, hey, let me get a second opinion, because he doesn't, doesn't care what Tucker Carlson has to say, because the blackmail they have on Trump and others, especially him, has got to be so horrific that somebody would be willing to risk World War III and other people's children's lives to cover this up. But that's what I see in the future. Buck, go ahead and take us away. Your final thought on
First of all, there's nobody out there strong enough to overcome the Patriots that are in control. If you saw the White House, they released a Patriots are in control meme the other day. That's 100% correct. This is saving Israel for last. This is a worldwide operation to take over to get the satanic pedophiles and the Rothschild banking cartels and the USAID funding mechanisms and all that. We've eliminated all these black site funding cells through Doge. We've actually copied and through AI, copied in all that data. So we have all the information. They're collecting the information every day. The Iranian sleeper cells, for example, you have to, when you look at what comes out of the White House, or what the talking points are, you have to see through it in order to understand what's really going on in this operation. For example, the Iranian sleeper cells, the reason they released that on Fox News, and they've been talking that for the last couple of days, is they want these Iranian sleeper cells that are in the country, they want them to start raising their head, and they want them to start operating so that they hear the chatter, because we're intercepting everybody. They have 24/7 full surveillance on everybody right now through Palantir and the others, all the AI data. They can bring up a computer system in their screen and they can see the data on everybody. They know what we're saying. They know what everybody else is saying. It's a constant surveillance society at this point, and it's going to be that way in the future until if the grid is ever taken down. If the grid's ever taken down, that's when it would become an apocalyptic nightmare, the likes of which we'd never seen. But right now, China, the ball is in China's court. It has been in China's court ever since we busted them in COVID, and we started knocking them out and kicking them out of the country. And they didn't get what they wanted in COVID. They wanted to control the United States through their surveillance system, just like they have with the social credit score system in their country. That's what they wanted to bring to the whole world. And Israel, through Bibi, he agreed with them to participate in that. So right now, if Trump wasn't there, if the white hats weren't there with this operation that's been ongoing since 2018, if this hadn't had been done, we would all be dead by now. We would have died during the COVID phase, because the 17 million swabs that came in that were contaminated would have killed us all. But one thing, and to look at why would Iran shoot their neighbors? Why did they hit Jordan? Why did they hit, Brazil, or not Brazil, but UAE, for example? They just hit UAE. UAE is a part of BRICS. Why would they have hit UAE when they were working with UAE with BRICS? You look at where these cells were hit. All of them were the infrastructure, the intelligence infrastructure that was built with John Brennan in Saudi Arabia. And that's why Saudi Arabia is so mad. Saudi Arabia has lost their intelligence apparatus throughout the Middle East. The Saudis, and who's going to build that back? It's going to be our companies that are going to build the defense systems. They're going to have to come to us for defense.
Wait a minute, but I mean, not to interrupt, but the Saudis are mad because they thought they had an alliance with Israel.
Yeah, and then they got, and then their intelligence assets,
and then their intelligence conferences and meetings alongside the U.S. and Israel.
And then their
find out
intelligence
that they found a dozen Mossad agents who were plotting to plant bombs in their oil refineries throughout Qatar and the other Gulf states. So that's why I raised the question that you asked, in addition to oil. Of why would they bomb or why would they attack their neighbors? Well, who's had a long history of attacking their neighbors, Buck? It's the Eastern Europeans that have been on an extended vacation over there in Palestine. I mean, just like the Windsors are on vacation in England.
Right, but that's
Buck, very fascinating stuff. Okay,
one thing. Let
please leave me
let me finish.
Your info again after the show, so I don't lose it. Like
one more thing on the Strait of Hormuz that we've just taken over. Lloyd's of London was the number.
And
Lloyd's of London.
A lot of people said they love the green. And yeah, St. Patrick's Day is around the corner. People are celebrating early. And yeah, Buck loves key lime pie, I assume. I do too.
One thing, Dean.
Okay, thank you very much, Buck. Buck Rogers. How do you like that? Okay. We're going to end it there now as I'm losing my voice. Losing my voice here. But there's a lot to think about, isn't there? There's a lot to think about. Many perspectives. And that's true diversity too. That's true diversity. Is look, I'm so willing to speak about the geopolitics and the ramifications about everything that's happening. In as far as to talking about the occult and how they're giving signs and symbols, decoding as we did the other day, all the way to what's really beyond the walls of the Arctic. Why can't those rockets make it past a certain level and a certain height? I think there's a greater mystery coming down the Albert Pikeway, if you will, after this incredible kinetic mess. I think there's a greater mystery and a greater discovery in this wild evolution that we find ourselves on still. And I think that's going to be coming from the Arctic when we find out truly what's really going on. Why are we really on this so-called spinning planet? And are there other beings? And yeah, so, we might be in a conclave after all. Anyways, on that note, as the art of the retreat is, I'm having to practice that myself here again. Okay, I will be back tomorrow, I believe. Definitely Thursday for sure. I think we're going to have some of the guys join us for that incredible Real Deal Media Live. But anyways, I want to thank Jim Fetzer for being here. Please check him out at the Revolution Radio and jameshfetzer.org. I have to promote that more, really. Promote that more. Okay. And also, no, I'll make the announcement tomorrow. Anyways, all right, everyone. For Jim, for Buck, for our wonderful friend from Denmark and Canada too as well. I'm Dean Ryan saying thank you for sharing a bit of your late night with me. Until next time, always remember to stay tuned and stay awake. Good night.